Hello everyone! Welcome to Messy Heart, where we dive deep into troubling accounts and messy relationships, hoping to provide support and advice to those who might seek it. Let's head into our first story. Listen carefully and give us your thoughts on the comments section. Story 1. Why does my mom support my sister Kay having a baby but want me to get sterilized? Honestly, I don't know what advice I want. I do want other perspective and advice on moving forward on how to maintain a relationship with my sister and mother. There is a lot of backstory that I don't have the character limit for, nor do you have the time for. Just know I do love my mother and sister dearly, but I also accept them for who they are and do not expect change nor hope for it. My sister Kay had, a year ago, started dropping hints to me to have a kid cause mom want grandbabies and she and mom would totally help and love my kid. Well, I noticed the last 3-ish months she and mom have been talking about how she really want to have a baby. I don't hang out with them together, they bring it up separately. Now in our childhood where we all SA and didn't know about each other until adulthood. Me the longest from 3-8, then again from 11-14 by our cousins on mom's side were always the perpetrators and all brothers. My sister Kay seems to have been affected the most, with literally mental breakdowns at the mention of the person's name. My other sister was just touched and says it didn't really affect her other than she just knew telling mom wouldn't do anything, so she never tried. And that is a repeated thing amongst us girls, is that at very young ages we seem to know to be quiet. My dad was the only one who ever tried to protect us, and honestly he is a narcissist, but compared to all the stories you read he is just self-involved. But we seem to be conditioned not to even tell him. I have only recently these past few years let him know in more detail, and he was so broken by a lot of it. I felt guilty telling him after all these years of not telling him. Due to this and other issue, I find I would not be comfortable leaving my child unattended with my mother. Not because of what my mother would do per se, but what she wouldn't do. When my sister Kay did try telling our mom when we were young, my other sister heard our mom literally tell Kay she should have kept her legs closed. So I don't understand why Kay even thinks it is a good idea to have a kid thinking of my mom as a primary childcare. I do not blame my own. I understand why she is the way she is. All I have to say is when she was young, cops kept bringing her back to her abuser. Even abused her themselves because she must be a problem loose kid who need to be taught a lesson and is making up stories to hurt an honest man's reputation, and the line "should have kept your legs closed" was often used on her. My sister Kay has been hinting at wanting to have a baby, likely because mom wants grandkids and she hit 28, which is when I feel a lot of women really start thinking about it if they haven't already. While I love my sister, I don't think she's ready to be a mom right now for several reasons. Our state's laws around abortion and family health issues. She's irresponsible with money, despite earning more than our parents and living with them. She has a history of being evicted due to neglecting her living space. She can't afford basic care for her pets, which I help with. She has a growth on her uterus and hasn't pursued further evaluation. Kay has mentioned using a sperm donor, and this worries me. Growing up, I was parentified as a kid, even started working at 11 years old at rodeo ranches and stayed living with my mom to care for her father until late 2018 and don't want to step back into that role. I've worked hard to build my own life, and I know if she has a child, I'd end up being the caretaker again. In short, I was having discomfort with an IUD, but nothing ever appeared wrong in scans, so insurance wouldn't pay for the removal. I am Native American and went to the Indian clinic. The Indian clinic will cover all costs that insurance doesn't pay for. I know many people who rely exclusively on the Indian clinic, which is not just for emergency services. In fact, the nearest Indian emergency service is about 2 hours away from this clinic. Some people keep insurance primarily for emergency situations. Yes, that is what it is called, and we all have chart numbers at the local Indian clinic, which is like a patient ID you get after being on a waiting list. We also have certificates of Indian blood (CDIB) and access to Indian Health Services (IHS). These are the correct terms and the federal agencies. I personally don't care about which is used. I am just stating this before someone in the comments starts wanting to be a keyboard warrior. Older members of often prefer Indian over Native American, and it can piss people off if you try to be politically correct. A YouTuber named CGP Grey, I believe, covers this topic very well in his video titled Indian or Native American? So while getting the IUD removed and going through this process, I had kinda decided it was time to really have a kid or seriously start planning on one. Seriously, due to my mother's issues with having kids, I have even talked with friends out of state and in Mexico about living with them until the pregnancy at 3-month postpartum because I am in a 6-week banned state. The clinic, while getting it removed, they offered a free DNA test. Given my family's health issues, and we have all always joked we are genetically screwed, I was 100% expecting bad news, but nothing like what I got. I got a call when the results came back. I tested positive for the BRCA2 gene, which is associated with breast cancer. Initially, I thought, okay, just one thing? Not too bad. But then the nurse informed me that I have a 40% to 80% chance of developing ovarian cancer within the next 10 years and recommended a double mastectomy and hysterectomy and removal of my ovaries. She even tried to schedule the surgery for October before Halloween. I'm only 32. The nurse scheduled a dermatologist appointment for me, mentioning my increased risk for skin cancer. I made the dermatology appointment. I was still in shock from the BRCA2 results, having only recently started to prioritize my own care and embrace my identity as a woman and really putting things in work for a kid. As she began discussing the major surgeries, I felt overwhelmed. When she asked for dates and times, I kinda snapped at her. I don't remember what she said, but I remember saying something like, "I'm not even ready for that yet." Her tone changed to a condescending one, as if talking to a child throwing a tantrum. She clicked her tongue and said in that slow, passive-aggressive kindergarten teacher voice that tries to sound understanding, "Well, that's a personal choice." Well, nothing, she said, was wrong, but I felt trapped and panicked during the conversation. I've shared my concerns with my family, mainly to encourage my sisters and mother to get tested. My mom has struggled with ovarian cysts and other issues since puberty, and doctors once misdiagnosed her for 6 months while pregnant with me, believing she couldn't have children. She refuses to get tested because my dad is the white side of the family and only your dad's side ever had breast cancer. My grandmother died of breast cancer a few years ago, but no other history. My sister Kay had, a year ago, started dropping hints to me to have a kid cause mom want grandbabies and she and mom would totally help and love my kid. Well, I noticed the last 3-ish months she and mom have been talking about how she really want to have a baby. I don't hang out with them together, they bring it up separately. Now, when I shared how I didn't like the way the nurse talked to me and how quickly she wanted me to have the procedures, which are all pretty major life-changing surgeries, my mom and sister Kay seemed very dismissive and seemed to act like I'm just being difficult about not wanting these surgeries. Internally, I was so distressed, and it took about 2 weeks to really get it out emotionally. I had gotten the physical papers back about my genetic test, which helped, as the paper says that the 40% risk isn't likely to manifest until I'm around 70. Clarified that at age 50, my chances of developing breast cancer are between 17% and 35%, while my ovarian cancer risk is only between 0.4% and 4%. Also, the paper states the recommended surgeries aren't recommended until 35 to 45 around onset menopause or upon completion of childbearing, and my family also has very late menopause, like 47 to 50. This information helped me so much. I started to calm down after discussing my fears with others. My concerns were eased by several factors. I've been on birth control forever, a decade, which reduces cancer risk. My family has mainly had cancers linked to specific workplaces, and we now have much better detection technology than we did a decade ago. There are medications to help manage the higher risks, and removing the fallopian tubes can significantly lower the chances of ovarian cancer. I feel like my dad and primary care, outside the Indian clinic, are the only ones who aren't calling me crazy about my concerns regarding the BRCA2 gene. My conspiracy theory is that there's a systematic effort to sterilize Native Americans again. I know it sounds far-fetched, and I'm not suggesting it's some shadow government plot, but I do think the Indian clinic serves a lot of people without health insurance who often wait until they're in crisis to seek help. The long wait times for appointments, sometimes 2 to 3 months, mean that many people don't go until they absolutely have to. Being part of a minority group with less access to resources can lead doctors to assume and biases that we're at an even higher risk for certain health issues than those who also test positive. There were even cases during COVID-19 where expired vaccinations were given to marginalized communities because clinics needed to use them quickly to avoid fines. These situations often happen, especially in low-cost or student health centers, and not everyone is aware of the potential risks involved. I'm confused about why my mom seems to want me to get sterilized while she won't even take the test herself. I'm pretty sure if she did get tested, she'd react dramatically, saying something like, "I'll just die." Whenever we have lunch, she focuses on Kay and her life, completely dismissing my feelings about why I don't want to pursue those options right now. Kay called me last Monday to share her results, and she tested positive too. No one is pressuring her to take action, even though she has a growth on her uterus. She even mentioned, "I know why they want you to get the hysterectomy as soon as possible," and spent the conversation talking about her involvement in the healthcare system since she's been working as a CNA and has gained some certifications. It feels like I'm being sidelined in this situation. How about that one? Let us have your thoughts and advice down in the comments section. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to check out our other videos and, as always, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Never forget that your smile is your best feature. Wear it proudly. See ya!